Okay, so today we're talking about factorizing using a common factor. Factorization means put something in factors, so have different factors, something times something else times something else. And in general, we say that we want to create brackets. So when we factorize, we generally try to create brackets, to insert brackets. So, for example, if you have 3x plus 6, well, how would you put this in brackets? You would notice that 3 and 6 have something in common, and that common thing would be 3. That is the common factor. So let me just put it here. This is called a common factor. All right, so inside the brackets, what would we put after that? Well, we would put an x, because we want to have 3 times bracket give us this expression back here. So 3 times x would be the thing that gives us 3x. And then we copy the plus, and we have 3 times what would give us 6. Well, that thing would be 2. So here we are basically going backwards in a way. Instead of expanding brackets, we are creating brackets. Let's move on to some examples down here. So 3a plus 6. Once again, we're trying to see what is the common factor between 3 and 6. Well, that would be a lovely little 3. So we put the 3 there, and then we open the brackets. And now inside the brackets, we put a plus 2, because that is what would give us 3a plus 6. Another way of remembering this is when you put the 3 out there, you divide everything by 3. So 3a divided by 3 gives us a, and 6 divided by 3 gives us 2. This is another trick to remember this. And remember, the 3 and the brackets have nothing in between, but actually they do have something. We just don't put it there. It's an invisible times. It's a tiny invisible times. So you can always imagine that if you zoom in enough, you will see that times, but we don't normally write it down. Moving on to part B. Okay, now this one might look a bit more, a bit different, a bit strange. So let's start by checking. Is there an a in this expression and this expression? The answer is no, so that's not a common factor. Let's look at the b. We have a b here, and we have a b here. So let's go ahead and underline that just to emphasize that that b is going to be a common factor. So be happy and put a b outside the brackets. And let's open the brackets now, and let's see what we will put in there. So if you divide this expression by b, what are you left with if you get rid of a? That's it. And then we'll just go ahead and copy that minus down here. Boom. And then this 2bc, if you divide it by b, you're left with 2c. Exactly. So this would be our final answer, b bracket a minus 2c. So now this one is got the added difficulty that we are looking for 2 different types of common factors. So let's start with the 8 and the 12. What is the number which is the common factor between the 8 and the 12? 4 is correct. 4 is the largest number that goes into 8 and 12, so that is the common factor. Now let's look at the x squared and the x. Is there a common factor there, something that goes into both? Excellent. So now we can open the brackets, and in there we will put the leftovers. So what are we left with if we have 8x squared divided by 4x? 2x. Because 8 divided by 4 gives us 2, and x squared divided by x gives us x. Great stuff. Then we'll just go ahead and copy that plus down here. And now, what is 12 divided by 4?
3x. No, just 3.
Just 3. Excellent, because x divided by x
just cancel each other out.
Exactly. It's not 0. They just cancel each other out. Yes, the one would be correct. Excellent. So you can all see now that is the factorized form. And that is pretty much what we are trying to do. That is what I'm going to let you carry on independently, because I can tell you guys know your stuff already. So let's just scroll down and just mention very briefly that you can also do the same thing when you have brackets. So when you have something like 2 brackets x plus 3 plus x brackets x plus 3, then basically this x plus 3 could be called your common factor. So this x plus 3, the entire pair of brackets would be your common factor. So if you go ahead and write that in front of everything else, you put that x plus 3 there, then you can open a new pair of brackets where you put the leftovers. So what would be the leftovers in this case? What are you left with if you remove the x plus 3?
The 2 plus x.
Exactly, 2 plus x. And that was easy peasy. We just got it factorized. It's finally done. So you can see it doesn't change much. You could have brackets which are your common factors.
Don't we? And what about the other brackets? Like the other brackets? Don't you do the square on the first one?
The x plus 3, you mean?
Yes, because you did like the first bracket and then the rest. But what about the brackets in the end?
No need to put anything squared. So you can just remember that whatever your common brackets are, so the x plus 3 in this case, you will just put that in one pair of brackets, and then you open a second pair of brackets, which will be the 2 and the plus x. And this is really, if I were to very briefly explain why this happens, is because when you have x plus 3 times 2 plus x, you can imagine you're doing this kind of multiplication. So you've got the entire pair of brackets times 2, and then the entire pair of brackets times x. So that will give you 2 times x plus 3, and then you have to add x times x plus 3. Because, well, each term of the second pair of brackets is multiplied with the entire.
The brackets are the same. You just put one. If it's different, you put both.
Something like that. I think it will all become a bit more clear when we do a bit more practice with this. I'll come back to your question though, because I think it's a good question to do a bit more work on this. And then finally, this one looks like a bit different, a bit strange compared with the one I just did previously. Do you notice, guys, that firstly, x plus 4 appears in both expressions? Yes? So that would be a common factor, x plus 4. And then if we open a new pair of brackets, what do we put in there?
X minus 1.
Ah, you saw that. Well done. So I was expecting, this is classic. Students tend to miss that there's an invisible 1 there. But well done, you didn't miss it. So basically we have a 1.
In front of that. Because if we were to put the times 1, it wouldn't change anything. So
Exactly. That's it. We don't tend to write it down, but it is there. It is invisible. That's pretty much the introduction to the theory, guys. So try to do about 2 from each. Obviously, I'm right here. Feel free to ask me if you do get stuck on anything, but I am going to stop the recording here just to make sure that it doesn't drag too much for those people watching the recording now.